Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, double honors to our elders and apostles of the great millstone that rule well. Peace and blessings to the elect of Israel. Shalom and above all. Back at one more lesson of the spirit and power of YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. Lord's will, this video is edifying. And we're just going to do a little walk and talk, back at it again. Yep, so I'm going to let the brother go ahead and take care of that. Go ahead, Aki.
Come on, this was a little lesson through the spirit. Break out. You 2/3 Jakes, want to live, this lifestyle, being a degenerate, trying to, be a hood. Good? Alright. Yeah, you 2/3 that want to be a degenerate, that want to follow the ways after Esau, Edom, doing wicked stuff, you gonna be put to death.
That's right.
And I want to get a precept. This is Isaiah. This is Isaiah chapter 51, verse 20, and it reads. It says that. Alright. This is Isaiah chapter 51, verse 20, and it reads, "Thy sons have fainted; they lie at the head of all the streets, as a wild bull in the net. They are full of fury."
You got it.
They are full of fury of the Lord, YAHAWASHI, YAHAWASHI, the rebuke of thy God, Yahweh.
Yeah, and what's the head of every street? A corner. The street corners. And that's where that's where you see a lot of Jakes chilling at. You see Jake chilling, tend to chill in the corners and stuff like that. So on and so forth, man. Okay, because this is basically talking about you have these different Jakes in these hoods and stuff like that, chilling on the heads of the streets, which is talking about street corners, so on and so forth, man. Like a wild bull in the net, and a bull tend to be an animal with rage. Okay, and that's how you see these young Jakes out here. They're reckless, like a wild bull in the net.
And they don't know, over time, these practices and all the stuff that they do, this doesn't come, we are, those people, they get these practices from Esau, Edom.
Yeah, I was going to say, can you get Proverbs 12? This just comes through spirit. Proverbs 12, I think it's like around verse 26. Because he said, like the brother said, they get these ways from Esau, man. This is where Jake learns this stuff from.
This is Proverbs 12, verse 26, and it reads, "The righteous is more excellent than his neighbor, but the way of the wicked seduceth them."
Yeah, the righteous is more excellent than his neighbor, but the way of the wicked seduceth him. So who is the righteous? Ultimately, the righteous represents the nation of Israel.
Right.
Okay? But it says the way is more excellent than his neighbor. The neighbor being, the heathen nation, so on and so forth. Okay, it says, but the way of the wicked, who is known as the wicked in the scriptures? Job 9:24, Malachi 1:4, Esau, Edom.
Right.
All right, you are the only nation known as the wicked. Like, that's your title. Okay, so it says the way of the wicked seduced him, man. All right, and that's the thing about it. Esau's ways has seduced the whole world, because ultimately, if you don't have that covering of YAHAWASHI, YAHAWASHI, you will be deceived by the God of this world. Matter of fact, can you get that scripture real quick, Baba Kasha? Just type in God, world, blind. But yeah, okay, just like what the brother said, man. Somewhere in the New Testament.
Got it. All right, this is 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 4, and it reads, "In whom the God..."
Yeah, start at 3, Baba Kasha.
All right, this is 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 3, and it reads, "But if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost."
Yeah, so if our gospel is hid, if the knowledge is hidden unto you, that's because ultimately you're spiritually lost. So like you, go ahead.
Verse 4, "In whom the God of this world have blinded the minds of them which believe not."
Exactly. So that's the 2/3 of our people. Just like what the brother said, you learning your ways from Esau.
That's right. Lest the light of the glorious gospel of Mashiach, who is the image of the Most High, should shine unto them.
Right. And ultimately, the truth is only given to the elect, so it's not going to really shine on 2/3, but at one point in time, Lord willing, we be a part of that number. Let's just say hypothetically we are the elect. At one point in time, we were in a 2/3 mind state.
That's right.
And then the Lord's gospel, His glorious light shined upon us, man. So that's the point. You got the next scripture on there?
Yes. The next scripture is Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 6, starting at verse 12, and it reads, "A naughty person, a wicked man, walketh with a froward mouth. He wrinkled with his eyes, he speaketh with his feet, he teacheth with his finger." And teacheth with his finger, you see, like with gangs, these jakes with gangs, they play around with their fingers, doing all these other signs, Verse 14, "Frowardness is in his heart, he deviseth mischief continually, he soweth discord."
Yeah.
Therefore shall his
Calamity.
calamity come suddenly. Suddenly shall he be broken without remedy.
Right, man. Okay. And also that you can look at that with Esau too. Going back to like what the brother said, how Jake learns his ways from Esau, because Esau, when you go into those Masons and the so-called Illuminati and stuff like that, mainly my main point is really the Freemasons, so-called. They do a lot of hand gestures and hand symbols and stuff like that.
That's right.
To kind of signal and see who's a Mason and who's not. They'll do different hand postures and gestures and things with their body. Teaching with their fingers, you know what I mean?
Right.
Jake learns that too. What do? They throw up all these different gang signs and stuff like that. But really, they're learning all these ways on how to be a nigga from their oppressor, man.
That's right. Because, imagine, even in the 60s, the 70s, Jake wasn't like that. Even you can go back to the 50s, from all this time before, that wasn't, the type of way we were walking. But what did he do? He put, all these stuff, such as, gangster rap, music, music,
right.
Putting these figures in your face so, they can show you, oh, and another thing they do, with these, these figures that they put, everything that they promote is wicked.
Right.
Especially, you can look at the rappers back then and the rappers now. You have your few that do promote righteousness, but they put them on the shelf.
Yep.
But guess who they put, promote for the world? They put people that 2/3 that speak about drugs, speak about adultery, speak about all these things that are, contrary to the scripture. But that wasn't by, but that was by design by Esau. So, you could walk in his way,
Right.
I was watching today, sorry, Shalak, just to add, but, there was a meeting, around, the 80s. And you know what he did? He, made a meeting they were building prisons, private prisons. And guess what they did? The private prisons was in the rap game. And with that, they designed that so, the rappers could promote, violence, promote death. So, with that, the younger generation could fill up these prisons. See, that's the type of shit that he does, excuse my French.
Right.
Go ahead.
And the scriptures say this people is robbed and spoiled. They are hid in prison houses. And who do you see populating the majority of these prison houses? So-called black Hispanics and Native Americans.
That's right.
All right. And that gangster rap culture really goes back to Cain. Okay? Because when you go into Cain, the scriptures talk about he that hateth his brother is a murderer. And what does this rap music promote?
Killing your brother.
Killing your brother, doing your brother dirty. Basically not loving your neighbor, all right, which is wickedness. But as well, it promotes basically the way of Cain,
Right.
Now, I'll say this, I'm not gonna sit here and act like I never listen to rap music or that I don't listen to rap music, but you have to understand what you're listening to, because you know the music has spirits on it. You know, if we're gonna keep it 100, that's why when you listen, and in that even, you know, you can even look at that in a righteous sense, because when you read 1 Samuel the 16th chapter, you know, with King David and King Saul, you know, King David played the harp and it took the demons off of King Saul. So music has healing to it, you know, depending on the frequencies and the vibrations that you play the music at. And so these devils, you know, they're real deep into their science and stuff like that. And so, you know, they know what type of frequencies and vibrations to put in the music to make you feel agitated, make you feel calm, make you feel angry, so on and so forth. Because it's all vibrations and frequencies when you go into it. And I was gonna say real quick, Baba Shah, can you go look in the scriptures? I think it's Lamech, but I'm not too sure. Just type in Lamech real quick. You remember what I'm talking about? Where he
Lamech, when he had slain
man,
and then he went
singing
back
about
to
it.
his ease, he sang about it.
Exactly. All that gangster rap culture really goes back to the way of Cain, man. Which Cain is the father of the wicked, you know. And Cain is Esau in the reincarnation if you can receive it. All right. And Cain hated his brother, man. Cain is wicked, man. Scriptures talk about woe unto them, for they have gone in the way of Cain, man. You know. I don't know if his name is Lamech, but
it is.
Yep, that's it, Khan.
Oh, Khan. Yeah. This is
You might want to go to the whole chapter though.
Go to the whole chapter.
Yeah, just at least to get the context.
All right. Genesis 4.
All right. Lamech start at
19.
You can really start at 22, just to go straight to the point.
All right, this is Genesis chapter 4, verse 22. And Zillah, she also bare Tubal-Cain.
Yeah, Tubal-Cain.
Tubal-Cain, an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron.
Right, so they were making weapons back then. That goes to show you Esau's blessed truly is a sword, because it says how he was an instructor and an artificer for every instrument, roughly paraphrasing, of brass and iron. That's to make weapons. You know, daggers, swords, so on and so forth.
And the sister of Tubal-Cain was Namah. And Lamech said unto his wives, Adah and Zillah, hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech, hearkening unto my speech, for I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt.
So he's talking about riding on his enemies, slaying niggas. You know, this is what Lamech's doing. He's singing about it to his wives. And same thing with Jake now. What do they be doing? Jake be rapping to who? Eve. About wickedness. And it actually tells you that in 1 Ezra, the 4th chapter, how Jacob rob, steal, you know, kill, face a lion, face a bear, to bring back the spoils to his woman. You know, when you read about that in 1 Ezra, the 4th chapter.
That's right.
Go ahead, Baba Shah.
All right. Verse 24. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold.
Right. So, just like how the Lord put the mark on Cain, and how the Lord put another mark on Cain, basically saying, you know, if anyone slays Cain, vengeance will be taken upon him sevenfold. That's why you see people that don't really fuck with Esau in this world, man. Here it is, that Jacob gets shot by the police in his own home, you know, and the cop get away on parole. But here it is, you shoot Esau, you know, they gonna put you in there for a double life sentence.
Right.
That's basically what the scripture's saying. You know, that's why the scriptures say how their houses are far from the rod, or roughly paraphrasing, basically saying like Esau, he's not really getting chastised like Jake or these other nations. The scriptures say they are not plagued as other men. You know, something called so-called white privilege. That's basically what the scripture's going into.
And you can even see, even today, you know, Jake is, especially with this so-called culture that they are so, you know, into, you know, Jake will slay Jake right next to each other, but it's another, you know, the city down is full of Esau, and they don't do anything. You know, they see Esau, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am,
Right.
but you got your brother right next to you, and you slaying them just because they might stay on a different street, different block, but you have Esau that they murdering, robbing, from the beginning of time, but that doesn't torment your soul or anything. So that's just to show you, like the brother said.
Con, you got any more precepts?
Yeah, I got next precept, 2 Timothy. Cold.
Nah.
This is 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 26, and it reads, and that they may recover themselves out the snare of the devil, who are taken captive by him at his will. So, just going in on that, the devil, who is, Esau got you in the snare of this, this whole facade of being a gangster, this whole facade of being a thug, this whole facade of being a degenerate. He has you, in his snare. You've been taken captive by this way of living, by this, this way of life, thinking that, to make it in this system, you have to, rob your brother or kill your brother, or go, such as make it in the world in the rap game. When they only promote slaying this. When you look at Esau's genres of music, this is not in their genre. You don't hear no Edomite talking about, I just killed, this, I just did this, I just robbed that. You don't hear about that. You know why? Because this is E. This is what he does. Scripture tells you to never trust thy enemy.
Right.
Who's your enemy out here? Just by, the way of life and, how they treat Jake, that should just show you that. But, our people, they want to be friends with their enemy. They want to trust their enemy. But it just to show you that, the scripture tells you have an adversary. It tells you that everyone isn't going to be, united as you guys want to. But our people, are confused.
Con. Psalms 83rd chapter tells you the enemies of the nation of Israel.
Con.
And the Lord said how all nations have forgotten part of our spoil. So all these heathen nations, not just, we get on Esau the most because it's his rulership right now, and so a lot of prophecies concerning Edom. But don't worry, you other nations, you're gonna get it too.
Right.
Don't think Esau just gonna get it all by himself. You other nations gonna get it. And also that can apply spiritually too. Spiritually being with the snare of Satan. But guess who's the physical counterpart of the spiritual demon Satan? Esau, Edom. That's why the Lord said to Cain, going back to Cain, alright, which is Esau in the reincarnation, the Lord said unto Cain, sin lieth at the door for thee, and unto it shall be thy desire. Roughly paraphrasing. Matter of fact, get that Bible, Genesis 4. It's after Cain, offered up that bitch ass sacrifice. He tried to offer the Lord herbs, but he knew the way how to sacrifice to the Lord, but he's the wicked, so he just couldn't do anything. He just couldn't do right, Genesis 4, just after the Lord said, why is thy countenance fallen from thee? Something like that. Why art thou wroth? I think it's like around, go up more. I think I just seen it. A little further up. Yeah, con. Start verse 7, Mama Child.
Alright, this is Genesis chapter.
Or you can start at 6 if you want to.
Alright, Alright, this is Genesis chapter 4, verse 6. And the Lord, Yahawah, BAHASHAM Yahshua, said unto Cain, why art thou wroth? And why is thy countenance fallen?
Con. Right, basically because same thing now with these devils, When we go on the highways and byways, okay, these devils get wroth, their countenance be fallen, because they see our sacrifice, and they see how our sacrifice is accepted, but they see how they're profane, But ultimately the Lord is asking them, it was more of a rhetorical question, because here it is, the Lord saying, what you and your feelings for, Nobody told you to offer up that weak ass sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? That's basically like, you crashed your car and you pouting at your parents because you crashed your car. You know what I mean? That's basically what the Lord is asking them. Like, why you upset? You know what I mean? You the one who offered up this sacrifice. Go ahead.
All right, verse 7. If thou does well, thou shalt not be accepted.
Right. So basically, if you're doing righteously, once you get accepted.
Right.
When you read Acts the 10th chapter, it says how the Lord is not a respecter of persons, but in every nation whom worketh righteousness is accepted with him. Roughly paraphrasing. And that's ultimately talking about Jake being scattered amongst the four corners. Because Esau, you can't make it. Your sacrifice was never really acceptable because you were created to be wicked.
Right.
And the scriptures say how the Lord is not pleased. Yeah, Genesis 4.
Alright, verse 7. If thou doest well, shall thou not be accepted?
Right. So if you're doing righteousness, won't you be accepted with the Most High? Go ahead.
Alright. And if thou dost not well, sin lieth at the door.
Sin lieth at the door, right. Because ultimately, if you're not doing righteousness, you're doing wickedness.
Right.
Ultimately.
And unto thee shall be his desire.
I'm talking about the spiritual demon Satan, because ultimately Satan, he is in that whole realm and dominion of sin. Right. So it says, unto thee shall be his desire, roughly paraphrasing, meaning how Esau's desire is to do wickedness, because that's how he was created to be. The scriptures say, who can bring an unclean thing out of who can bring a clean thing out of an unclean thing? The scriptures also say, can you change the leopard of the spots? Can you change the spots of the leopard? Can the Ethiopian change his skin? So matter of fact, just grab that real quick for edification. Jeremiah 13:23. It's better let the scriptures talk.
Right. Alright, this is Jeremiah chapter 13, verse 23, and it reads, can the Ethiopian change his skin, or the leopard his spots?
Right.
Then may he also do good.
Right.
And that are accustomed to do evil.
Right. So for those who are accustomed to do evil, talking about how Esau's programmed to be wicked, you can't do good. It's not in you to do righteousness. You don't know righteousness. You know wickedness. That's your lot. All right. Go ahead. You can go back to Genesis. All right. Close off on that verse 7. Call 12 Bakia.
Alright, I'll read that again. If thou dost well, shall thou not be accepted? And if thou dost not well, sin lieth at the door.
Sin lieth at the door. Go ahead.
And unto thee shall be his desires.
Right. Go ahead.
And thou shalt rule over him.
Right. So basically Esau and the spiritual demon Satan, they got a close encounter, man. That's basically what the scripture is going into, because that's what he was programmed to be, wicked, man. Just like how Israel is known as the righteous, Esau and Edom, they're known as the wicked. All right. HALALYAM, YAHAWASHI. You see it? But you got that next scripture?
This is 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 33, and it reads, be not deceived, evil communications corrupt good manners.
Right.
So, the scripture tells us to be not deceived. Even though, we're going back to the cursing, Eve would do these things. When the Lord, puts the spirit on us to come back to the ways, we're not supposed to be deceived by these things that Eve does. Because, like we brought out before, that's not, before Eve put all these snares to catch us, we weren't like, that type of people.
Right. The righteous is more excellent than his neighbor, but the way of the wicked seduces.
That's right.
As we read earlier. And to bring out the scripture a little bit more, like it says, evil communication corrupts good morals. Roughly paraphrasing. So when you go into that word communication, it also goes into conduct. So when that goes to show you why you can't let anybody in the body, because one brother's spirit, one brother might have a bad spirit, and that bad spirit can jump on another brother. Then it jumps on another brother. Then next thing you know, the whole camp is defiled. All right, that's why the scriptures say, little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. You know, and that's why the scriptures say, you know, to basically, you know, refrain ourselves from certain men. Okay, because, and now when you look at it back to, I guess you could say, to the relevance of the topic at hand, you know, Esau, Edom. You know, you refrain yourself from his ways and from who, and, you know, associating yourself with him, so to speak. You know what I mean? Because his evil communications can corrupt your good morals or good manners, roughly paraphrasing.
Right.
Also, the scriptures say, he that has in company, or he that is in company with a proud man shall be like him.
Right.
And Esau, Edom is known as the most proud.
Yep.
You know? So, and scriptures say that he is a proud man in Habakkuk the second chapter, 5th verse. So basically, Obadiah 1 and 3, the pride of thine heart hath deceived thee. You know, but basically the point being, you know, this devil's ways, his venom, his serpent ways can rub off on you.
Right.
You know, lest you have the spirit of YAHAWASHI to protect you.
Right.
Because here it is, we walking, doing a little walking talking. You know, we're seeing houses. You know, they got Christmas decorations and shit like that. You know, and if you're not in the spirit, it might be amusing and appealing to your eye, but really, it goes back to a wicked origin.
That's right. You know, the wicked. You know, if you have a chance, you go on Google.